Good Tuesday to you all, or any. We're here, and we're here to start Red Week. We'll do a little bit of flash action. So today in particular, definitely wanted to stream something. As Christmas draws near, we are in Christmas week. I wanted to do something tonight. I wanted to do something for this week. I wanted to keep it relatively simple. I also wanted to take this opportunity. There we go. A little bit more light back there. Take this opportunity to experiment a little bit. Some things that I've been wanting to try for a while. Stupid mouse. There we go. So we'll see how this goes. Okay. Probably some loose and relatively minimal pencil artwork today. I have a reference off to the side. Yes, I do. How you doing, Fury 8, man? I got some minimal reference that I'll be using a little bit at first, just to get the figure drawing correct. As correct as it's going to need to be. I'm drawing this out for now, but I expect At a certain point, I'm probably going to end up abstracting it to some degree or another. And you guys will see why soon enough. Good already. How long have you been drawing? Since I was old enough to hold a pencil. Probably somewhere around, probably since I was somewhere around 6 years old. So that's quite a while already. Didn't understand working on a craft at that age. If it wasn't something that I enjoyed doing, I don't think that there's any way I'd have ever been doing it so long. So It just has to be, it has to be a thing you love to do first and foremost. Otherwise, you're not going to get very far. Like most skills, you got to do it pretty much constantly. Most people, anyway, have to do it pretty much constantly to get to become good at it. So if that's not something you're willing to do, whether you do it because you love it or you do it because you really just want to get better, or both, then it's probably not going to happen. Some people are just naturally good at certain things and they don't really have to work very hard at it, but that is most certainly the exception and not the rule, and was certainly not the case with me. It's about as much pencil artwork as I want to do for now. What I'm going to do next is probably going to decide how good this is going to end up looking, ultimately. Because once again, I kind of wanted to experiment with a couple of things. First of all, matter of fact, that don't look right. It's probably too short. Okay. Now, a few things. First of all, this is going to come in. This is going to become important later. Okay. See, that wasn't quite right. So you're gonna be careful because straight lines are relative depending on the surface you're drawing them on. So, ideally, and I know I say that a lot, you put all the most important elements in place front and center right away, right at the beginning. There's a much more easy later. To do all the little things that you want to do, and for that to be easier. Turn your head, all the speed lines appear. Yeah, I'm told I draw kind of fast, so sometimes that's a good thing, sometimes it ain't. This is gonna require larger brush. Fortunately, I got that. Oh man, this needs to be way wetter. I want to cover enough of this area. Do anything on Photoshop. It's popular, but I only click on the channels that are on paper. Most of the stuff I do on Photoshop is coloring. When I'm doing my actual comic book art, like my actual comic book art that's of stuff that's my own creation. I tend not to draw. I'm not too comfortable drawing on Photoshop, but I definitely color a lot. And if I were a little bit younger, I might have learned how to draw on Photoshop. I might have learned how to draw digitally, but I'm old school. I got absolutely nothing against digital artists. There's a ton of great talent out there that does it that way, and they do it their way and I do it mine, and that's all good. Now, until I do what I really want to do in this bit of artwork, I'm going to keep the detail very minimal. You'll notice there's some details here that I've already painted over. Like I said, I'm keeping it relatively simple tonight as well, so even when I do get into somewhat more detail, not gonna be that much. Not gonna be that much more. I don't expect it to be anyway. I might change my mind. Sometimes I'll change my mind quite a bit in mid art. But I ain't anticipating it right this minute. Also kind of wanted to go back to doing something that was at least mostly pure watercolor. I get into the gouache stuff and the opaque stuff, and I like using that, but it's also a lot of preparation and a lot of cleanup time, and for me anyway, like what I would consider, I'm sure some people wouldn't sweat it as much as I do, but I'm very much a get up and go when it comes time, when it comes to art. So something that requires a lot of pre-planning. Sometimes I don't necessarily want to get into all that. Depends also on what I want to do, how I want to do it, and what I think I'm going to need to get it done. Also, a good thing that I ended up getting this shade of red these different shades of red that I'm working with. Perfect. Let me cover this. Cover this up. I'll relocate that belt in a minute. Okay. Not too bad. So far, so good. And I dropped my eraser. Now the stream is complete. My stream is never complete until I drop my eraser or some other art tool at least once. Dry this. It's very important that this be as dry as possible for the next thing. Pardon me a moment. Did I learn watercolor from trial and error? To be perfectly honest, almost everything I've ever learned about art, I learned from trial and error. Actually had very little like formal education on drawing or painting. That's not to say anything bad about anybody who does that, but I didn't. So speaking of trial and error, we're gonna try something right now. And hope there's not too much error. Let's see. you go. Yeah, that has some possibilities. I might need to wait for the paint to dry a little bit more. But that's pretty close to the effect that I was going for. Got to do now is do it a whole lot more times. That's a shame. That was almost perfect. No, maybe not almost, but close enough. Now what I did was I took the usual artist tape, or the usual drafting tape that I stick all of my pages onto my drawing table with, and I just sliced it all up into smaller strips, and I'm now going to attempt to use it to mask parts of this page and create this effect many more times. Now the reason why, I've actually done this before with ink. I do this with ink a lot, in one incarnation or another. And the reason why I've always been hesitant to do it with paint is because particularly watercolor paint, and it's a little bit different when you're using something like acrylic or tempera or something like that, paints that are thicker, because watercolor, by its nature, bleeds a lot, is very runny, and sometimes pretty, notoriously hard to control unless you really know what you're doing, and I really don't sometimes. So what happens is when you're using a paint that tends to run and spread and bleed all over the place, like watercolor, what happens is when you try to mask something off, like this, when you put tape over a surface, depending on the surface, if the surface is too absorbent, what happens is the paint will absorb into the paper underneath the tape that you're trying to use to mask it, and we'll just keep running past the tape, which defeats the entire purpose of trying to mask anything. Now, I didn't see that happen here, really. The biggest problem we had here was just removing the tape while the paint was still too wet, and it took some of the paper with it. I'm going to immediately try to learn from that mistake and see if I can come up with an alternative. No, I'm going to use this one for that. Let's see. Here. Maybe. Anybody's watching, cross your fingers. Let's see. There's no trick to it. It's just a simple trick. Okay. Let's dry it and see what happens. See what it looks like. You know what? Before I do that, let me throw another shade on here. Just in certain strategic places. Try this up now. See what happens. close that gap there. We can just add this to the long list of things that I was not entirely sure would work until after I did them. Ready for the yellow. Let's see if we... There's still quite a bit more I want to do with this. I'm not entirely sure if I'm ready for the yellow just yet. I might be. We'll see how it looks once all of this comes off. Like to do on these sort of harder areas is see if that will, yeah, it sure will, which means it will also do the same thing over here. So So I can dry brush that and this. Just so that those little spots where the paint abruptly ends won't look quite so abrupt. Really dry this up though. I don't think it would work quite as well otherwise. Now, well, what on earth is he gonna do now? What indeed? Try two things. I'm almost certain one will work better than the other. At this time, I'm not sure which one. Let's start there. Start off small. Let's start with white watercolor, which I'm not a tremendous fan of. And I immediately can see why. That's not going to work. I can tell that immediately. I can tell that right away. However, that ain't the only white watercolor I've got. Not by a long shot. Just need to find it. That's what I was looking for. Matter of fact, I could probably see. I don't know if this is watercolor or gouache. And at this point, I'm not sure if it matters. It doesn't. Not really. Seems like it was definitely opaque white, but I want to say that before I know for sure. That was a bit of a bravery test. I think overall this is going to be a successful experiment. The only thing is it's going to be quite time consuming, which I was hoping for that not to be tonight, but we'll see what happens. That's basically what I was going for, alright? Now that I got the proof of the concept, I just have to do it better. Okay. And you can see, I don't know if you can see that the paint did start bleeding underneath the tape and out from underneath the tape, which could mean two things. Might mean one thing, might mean the other, or might mean both. One, I didn't press the tape down against the page hard enough for it to stick and create that barrier. Two, the paper's getting wetter, which means that this is going to become a regular problem throughout this piece. I hope it's more the first one than the second one. The first one I can control to some extent. The second one, not so much. Sorry, there was a hair on that. Now, the problem with this also is I have to be pretty careful now with the longer, the farther into this that I go with pressing this tape down. Because the wetter this page gets between water and watercolor paint, the softer it's gonna get, and the more easily I might be able to do more of that and pull up bits of the paper when I'm taking the tape off, which is also why it's probably a pretty good thing that the hair dryer that I'm using sort of steams the tape up off of it when I try to dry the paint. That's a much better alternative. Alright, let's do it again. This paint's gonna start giving me a hard time. Let's roll this up one more time. There we go. Always cap your paints immediately. These things are so much more of a pain in the ass once they're dry. And if they happen to dry in the tube, then you're really, really gonna have some headache. I'm trying to find that magic consistency for this paint. I have not found it yet. I don't know if I'm going to find it. I may find something close. It looks close. Is it enough? Okay, let's see. Now, excuse me. Okay. Actually, Let me dry this again too, just to be absolutely sure. Hey Lindsay, you're just in time to witness my mad scientist tape experiment here. You should see the rest of this table and the tiny little strips of tape that it's covered in. Gonna be a close one. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, buddy. Only problem I'm gonna run into later is if I happen to want to try to reuse these. They're curling up. These strips of tape are curling up something fierce. So, yeah, there we go. Now, and Fury, I hope you're still there. Now it's time to bring on the yellow, I think. Or to be more specific, this shade of gold that I just got that I think will be just perfect. That'll do. That'll do. Oh, that's weird. Line should make it pop too. Not sure if I'm going to be doing any black lines. I have to lift some of this paint off in order to be able to see that gold stuff. Usually finish with O.S.A. Simpsons painting room. We'll be ending with that. Yeah, I often do. The especially with the Simpsons stuff, but that's just because I try to stay very true to the style of art of that show when I'm doing my Simpsons Sunday stuff. I can get a little bit more, depending on what I'm working on, like I'll get a little bit more out there with what I do and how I do it. So sometimes I got a whole case full of pens and brushes and brush pens that I very much love using, but sometimes I'll do something else. I'll try to do it a different way. And today I'm kind of in the mood to keep it as much in the paint side of things as possible. I think it's looking pretty good this way. I think if we're doing something like the Flash, who's presumably running at crazy, insane speeds, you don't necessarily want to see him very clearly. At least that's kind of what I'm going for right now. Styles differ, situations differ, preferences differ. But this is what I'd like to try tonight. Yeah, that'll work. I'm not sure I need to do a whole lot more than that to give the idea of where the necessary areas of gold are going to be. As a matter of fact, if I blur it up and blend it a little bit, it actually looks even cooler. This right here. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Sir, I say sir. Okay, well, I'm waiting for that to dry. Important thing to do, particularly because Lindsay did not see this on Sunday. Time to moisturize. I'm trying to make this part of the routine, like every stream. It's important to set a good example. Okay. Now, what else? What else can we do here? I think we can do. Actually, I don't think I need to clear out anything on the palette. All I need to do is transfer some paint for one palette to the other. And revive this yellow, and then where am I going to drop it? Let's see in here. Yeah, that's not very good. I might have to clear this out after all. Or maybe do this. Nah, too much. There's too much green in there from the other day. Sorry, guys. Should hopefully not be enough in there to affect this color. I'm going to be using judiciously. That's the color I was going for. Maybe even a little bit yellower. Okay. And the reason why I did all that is because it's probably better to have a more opaque color than not for this next thing. Okay. This is the tedious part of it, so unfortunately some of the techniques that give you the coolest looking effects can sometimes be the most boring to watch be set up. There's only so much I can do about that. Yeah, I think I'm gonna overwrite that. For enjoy, I was actually going to change the station on Pretzel, but if you're digging it, I will leave it alone. Sometimes they can be hit and miss with the music. Yeah. Nah, I'm perfectly okay with this. Yeah, miss. Yeah, I figured it'd be miss for you. But I'll tell you what, Linz, if you've got the if you've got the 70 or 80 G's that it would probably cost me to license some Lana Del Rey music, then I'd be more than welcome to play it. But Twitch says if I don't own it, or if it ain't public use, then if I play it, it's gonna get me shut off. They sent any emails riding that? Any emails regarding that? No, because I haven't really tried them like that. I've just been playing either music from my playlist that I know I've already tested and I know is free and Twitch won't swat me about it, or like tonight I played directly from Pretzel, which seems to have a pretty solid guarantee that all of their music is safe for Twitch and YouTube. I rarely try to psych Twitch out when it comes to music. I have on occasion, but if you want to know the secret, if you put an 8-bit filter on just about anything, Twitch doesn't catch it. Twitch assumes anything chiptune is video game music, and they can't regulate that. So that's how I've gotten away with it in the past. Let's see. There we go. Oh, I bet you she'll do. I bet you she'll do some kind of techno album one of these days, and you'll end up loving it. Don't play it. Don't quit playing. You know you would. She'll do something like that. I'll allow it. I'll allow it this time. Just take it easy. I knew I should have known that was gonna happen. Yeah, now you know how everybody else feels. Well, you just have to be very selective. You gotta be very particular with your insults. See, Twitch only censors certain things. Twitch doesn't censor, things like, Twitch doesn't bleep out things like, homophobia or anything like that, because apparently that's not a priority for them. But, other things. I didn't say anything. I know I was muted. I gotta mute it again because I'm not done with the hairdryer yet. What do you guys think so far? Thanks for the hype, then. What next? Let's add some definite shadow to this. Yes, I think so. Jeez. Let me add some red to this brown I already got sitting in here. Look back again to make sure I'm still unmuted, because I'm super paranoid about that now. Lindsay, you're saying brown an awful lot. Try to make some kind of opaque concoction over here. Correction, reddish brown, 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 brown. Because as I discussed on Sunday, you can usually make a fairly consistent shade of brown by mixing any two opposite colors. You mix blue and orange, if you mix purple and yellow, you usually get something approximating brown. But Probably the best. Yeah, I know you're a painter, Lindsay. I know you know these things. I know you're well versed in all of them. Lindsay is an immensely talented painter, and she probably knows a lot of this shit that I'm saying in her sleep. But you know. Anyway, the probably the least muddy and most versatile shade of brown you can get by mixing opposite colors together is usually from a combination of red and green, which, you know, given the holiday season and all, is kind of appropriate tonight. Once you get that going, once you get that working, it's just a matter of controlling how much red you want versus how much green. Okay, well, that's not too bad. Have no fear. Anytime you want to use a Bob Ross emoji on me, I will take it as a compliment. Yeah, I'm liking it too, actually. I was a little bit worried, but trying also to cover up a few pencil lines while I'm at it. And cover up where the tape came up right there. Good as new. Okay. Okay. Interesting. All right. It gives a little something, something. Something, something, something. We're gonna do a few little exposed parts. Too dark. Too bright. I think this was it. Yep. See fences. Tell him I said hi to, and that he's a bum. All right. He's a bumsicle. Take this as will be graded between bodies. Took a lot of work. I'm to the point where I don't have to think about it as much as I used to, which is good. Very good. It means I can focus on other things. I remember reading a magazine, and it was they interviewed like one of the they interviewed a Disney animator. This was, when I was a little kid. This was the 90s, when all of the quote-unquote Disney Renaissance movies were coming out. Lion King, Aladdin, Little Mermaid. That sort of trilogy of sort of well-remembered 90s Disney animated movies. And they did an interview with one of the animators, I think from might have been from Aladdin, and he said he had they talked about drawing, and he talked about doing character drawing figures and that sort of thing. And he said, and this is specific, I think he specifically was talking about animation. And he said, when you're an animator, you have to get to the point when you're doing characters and you're doing figures where you don't even think about drawing anymore. You think more about acting. You think more about what the character you're doing is thinking, which is supposed to inform the way that he moves, the way he or she moves. Prefer portraits, can't do fingers, so I cut out the entire body. Fingers are hard. Hands are hard. Hands are really hard. A couple of weeks ago, I was a friend of mine's. I was at a friend's house. It was like the one and only time. I think it's the one and only time all throughout this whole year that I've actually, gone to somebody's house. But my friend's son, he's getting into drawing, and he's getting into especially like anime and that sort of thing. And I try to give him pointers where I can. And about hands, I've told him, and we talk a little bit about, and I've mentioned it on the stream before, but the concept of like of uncanny valley effect. Most people, when they think of uncanny valley effect, it's I have to fix that. It sucks. Most of the time when people think of like uncanny valley effect, they usually think of it as it pertains to CGI and CG animation. But what uncanny valley effect really is, in the simplest definition of the word, of the term, is just it's a term that's used to describe when your brain reacts harshly to something attempting to mimic human behavior but can't. And the closer something tries to get to mimicking that behavior and ultimately failing, the more your brain starts telling you that ain't right. The reason why it gets used in regards to CG all the time is because there's a lot of CG animation, there's a lot of computer-generated animation out there that tries to look realistically human and falls very, very, very short. And it's not always something you can immediately put your finger on. you can't always articulate why something doesn't look quite right when it's trying, when it's trying to look human, at least in terms of animation. But your brain has a very visceral subconscious reaction to that, to when it rejects something's attempt to look human. This is, if you've ever seen like those super creepy robots that you can YouTube it, like the robots. I think they're Japanese. They're from Japan. That they sort of move their heads and blink their eyes and try to mimic human behavior, and it just ends up looking super creepy. Yeah. That's because, your brain has that reaction to it because it's really, really rejecting that attempt at mimicking human appearance and human motion and human behavior, and not quite getting it. Because we see human beings every day of our lives in some way or another. We are so familiar with how humans look, how humans move, how humans act, that it's permeated like a whole different part of the brain. We understand it on a subconscious level that we don't even... Yeah, exactly. We understand it on such a subconscious level that we don't even realize how familiar we are with it until we see something that kind of, sort of, almost looks like it, but not quite, and that part of your brain starts freaking out. How this relates to drawing is we actually have that reaction to all kinds of different things in regards to the human body. We specifically have that. We specifically have that subconscious knowledge when it comes to hands. Now, nothing on the human body moves like a hand does, like a finger does, and a human hand can move in all of these different directions. There's all of these different opposable thumb and digits with different joints that move in all kinds of different directions. As versatile as your hands are, and as much as they can move in all kinds of different weird directions, the human brain understands fully all the range of motion of a hand and what a hand looks like in just about any position. We understand that. And the problem is, recreating that on a page is very difficult. It's very difficult to get it just right. So when you get it wrong, your brain picks up on it right away. Your brain picks up right away. That's not a correct hand. That's not a correct, finger position. This finger is longer than it should be for this person's hand in proportion to that person's arm, in proportion to the rest of their body. One of my favorite sayings that I always, go into from, Red Letter Media is, you may not fully understand it, but your brain does. Your brain is sending a signal to the rest of you saying, that ain't right. That boy ain't right. That whatever it is ain't right. So really, the problem with drawing accurate hands is not so much that human beings don't know how hands are supposed to look. It's that we know way too well how they're supposed to look. And knowing how they're supposed to look and being able to recreate it in 2 dimensions or even in 3 dimensions is a whole other thing. There's a lot of psychology that goes into drawing, especially that goes into drawing human beings or something that's supposed to look like a human being. All right. Yeah, a whole lot of psychology for all the reasons for all the reasons I just said. Figure drawing in general, the drawing of figures in general, drawing Drawing a 3-dimensional figure on a 2-dimensional plane and making it look realistic is really just an exercise in trying to trick the brain. You do it anytime you try to do that. Any kind of optical illusion is an exercise in trying to is sort of its own little miniature psychological experiment, because you're trying to convince your brain that it's seeing something that's not really there, or not really there in the way that you're trying to make it accept that it is. And trust me, there are people way more knowledgeable than I am. They could probably articulate this a lot better. I'm giving you the cliff notes of what I understand about it and how I use it when I draw. But it's all there. It's something, it's something that I have a really a big fascination with. That's one of the things I really, that's really just endlessly interesting to me about art, is just the sort of play on perception. Before I forget this, I'm gonna get out my tiniest brush here and actually pin down some. This is about as close to inking as I'm gonna get tonight. That's weird. I don't know what that was. Alright, that's about as much of that as I want to do. Erase that, and that looks even more like how I wanted it to look in the first place. That'll do. Alright, next thing. Yep. That's working. Keeping the lightning theme going even into, you know, what I have dubbed Red Week. Yeah, I had Green Week 2 weeks ago. Well, it's Red Week because it's December, right? Get it? Get it? But I also had like a mini lightning week last week, so this is sort of the transition period between lightning week and red week, where you do a character where I can do both at the same time. Both lightning and color red. Came expecting blood and guts. I gave you a whole month of blood and guts. The whole month of October was blood and guts. More. Yeah, well. Maybe later. Maybe another time. I'm ready for the lightning. Be even less ready in just a moment for what else I have in store for all of this lightning. Hopefully. We'll see. Sometimes this what I'm about to do next, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So. Time for more white paint. Okay. Get out. Now I'm gonna have to fix that so the cap will actually go back on that tube of white paint. Jerk. Alright. Yep, that'll do. Let's try that again. Yeah, I knew I had the right idea experimenting tonight. That's something else I worry. That's another effect I worry very much about overdoing, but it's just so much fun. This was born out of the idea of doing this with, when I would do this with a straw, and my decision that I just really look like a dork doing it with a straw. So That can gets mighty cold after a while. That's the stuff. Oh, boy. Go away. There we go. Much better. It better still count towards my viewership count, though. Jerk. Woo! That one flew. Doesn't leave much left, but it is cool looking for those 2 seconds that it happens. It's a little bit like toppling dominoes. It's thrilling for half a second, and then you're like, well, now what do I do? Right, next thing. Clear some of this real estate out of here. Everybody still out there? Knock a troll out of the box, but we're doing okay now. Where was I? Okay. Not just yet. Yeah. That's got legs. Only a little bit though. Yeah. Not opaque enough to kind of grip the page, so we'll opaken it up a little bit more. That's right, I said opaken. It's probably a word, and if not, I'm making one up now. What do you mean, uh-oh? What did I do? What's going on? This is the lead up there. It was just some guy trying to sell something or something. I don't know. I don't really care. Yeah. Like I said, I'm just hoping he still counts towards my viewership. That's all I'm worried about, really. If he counts towards my viewership, then he will not have gotten kicked in vain. Okay. Might happen, my friends, if I made this almost completely white and went over it again. This time white and thicker. That's what happens. That's interesting. Not sure I want to put too much stock in that, but that did something I was not expecting. Okay. That's gonna cost me. Oh. We go almost back to completely pure white here now. Blend this a little bit, and then I think we can call it. I'm going to blend it if I can find on my blending brushes. That's a big if. Hold it up, put them down here, of course. I'm sure there was one even closer than that, but whatever. Keith's commercial came on. There's not enough artists that do. There's not enough endorsement opportunities for artists out there. I think hand moisturizer would be perfect. Yeah, if anybody, if any representatives from O'Keeffe's is watching, holler at me. Let's do some business. Let's chill out on some of these stray sprays of water here. We can fade these out and make everything look even more blurry and moving at high speeds. Yeah, hold on. Let me do the commercial again. I'm gonna do a full commercial. If you are an artist, if you are an illustrator or a painter or anything of the kind, and you suffer from the same dry, cracked hands and fingers as I do, You want some O'Keeffe's Working Hands hand cream. It will provide you with the instant relief and moisturizing power that you so richly need. My hands are feeling better already. Find it at your local drugstore. I'm not selling out. They haven't paid me yet. You gotta get paid before you can be called a sellout. Fix one minor thing here, and it's basically the thing that that we did at the very beginning. We messed up in the beginning, which is this right here that got ripped off by the tape in my first try with the tape lines. I actually really dig this. I think it looks pretty cool. And for me being so, adamant and so, such a stickler for trying to ink everything, to do this not only in paint but to do it in mostly semi-transparent watercolor, which is a medium I am still grappling with. I actually, for the most part, really like how this came out. Also, as somebody who is also tends to get very particular about having straight and defined lines, which I'm doing now anyway with this whiteout pen. So as I'm saying that, I'm actually doing the thing that I was trying not to do all night, but I'm gonna keep it limited. What about me? Me as in me as in me, or me as in you? I'm me. You have selected you. You have selected me, referring to... What was it? You have selected you, referring to me. The correct answer is you. Don't jerk me around, pal. What spot on the page? Oh, this one? That one? Was that it? Was that the spot? Was it the ugly one? OCD was not good. Well, I'll tell you what, as I glanced up at that, I read it wrong. For a second, it didn't look like it said OCD. It looked like it said COD. So I was like, your COD is not good? What? What's... You have a COD? This is a sign that I think both of us need some rest. How pleased with this piece are you from 1 to 10? That's always a really hard question for me to answer right away. Because I'm somebody who I'll work on something and, you know, until I feel like it's done, until I'm happy with it. And then hours or days later, I'll feel a lot less charitable towards it than I did when I was finished with it. So I'm sure I'm gonna find a ton of things about this that I don't like very soon. For now, right this minute, let's call this, you know, a 7, 8. In terms of, you know, how enjoyable some of the little tricks and techniques that I threw in here were. Because I don't always get to do that sort of thing, like when I'm doing this. So that was a blast. Using the tape and using the tape masking and the air spray. That was pretty awesome. I enjoyed that. So if for no other reason, then, you know, I really enjoyed doing this for that reason, to be able to do that. Never felt like a 10 in your life. Well, opinions differ. We may be approaching finish it or risk ruining it territory, so I'm gonna take that as a sign and call this one. I'm pretty happy with how it came out. Like I said, I may feel differently tomorrow or even later tonight, but I think this is a good night's work. We're almost at the 3-hour mark here, so I think, I'm not sure if I will, but yeah, I have my suspicions. Alright, one more thing. I'm going to try one more thing here. Let's see. How opaque is this? piece here. This is what I mean when I say this is this is a real thing for some artists and as well, and that's when you reach that critical mass moment and you have a choice between either finishing it or risking ruining it. And I think I'm at that point because now I'm very much inventing things to continue doing with this piece. Yeah, I like how that came out. I was not expecting it to look quite that cool from erasing the pencil lines there, which is what I ended up doing. This marker is very uncooperative. I think that's about as much as I want to tempt fate with that. Literally one last thing, and that's eye highlights, which I always like doing. Alright. That's a good night's work right there, I think. So thank you guys for hanging out with me tonight. It's always much more enjoyable when I've got friends joining me than going alone, so that's always cool. Thank you guys for sticking around. And I will try to be back. Thursday's Christmas Eve. I'd like to do something on... I'm wearing a Santa hat. Yeah, I'm wearing my plaid Santa hat that that is actually way too small for my head, that I had to cut in the back so that it fits me. And you can kind of see where I cut it, but for the most part I've chosen to conceal that. But yeah, 'tis the season. So I'll be wearing this week. Anyway, I'm going to try to be back on Thursday. Thursday's Christmas Eve, so that's not a guarantee. But as always, continue to follow. Continue to keep an eye on all the social medias. I am Epic Benjamin J on all of the things. Twitter, Instagram, and Twitch. And if you follow me on any or all of those, you will know when I'm going live. You will know when I'm posting new artwork and when I'm posting links to previous videos that you can and you can get a look at all of this stuff that I'm working on here and that I have worked on in the past and that I will be working on in the future. And I highly encourage everybody to follow as much of that as you can stand. So once again, thank you guys for indulging my little experimentation tonight. Hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see what we do for the rest of Red Week. It will continue to be Red Week the rest of this week, and I'll see what I can come up with. Till then, I hope you guys all have a good rest of your evening and a good next couple of days as we go into this, the home stretch of Christmas for those of you celebrating Christmas out there. I hope in the process you guys never ever stop making friends through art. Christmas is a great time to get familiar with some new art supplies if you happen to have received any gifts of that nature. So it may be maybe 'tis the season to make friends through art. Just a thought. Hope to see you guys soon, and until I see you all again, everybody, please